Hotepu everyone. Today I wish to discuss with you a very important document from ancient Kemet. As you see on the screen here, this is what's called the Hall of Judgement, or the Hall of Maat. This is a major doctrine of the Kemetic spiritual tradition. I use here on the screen the Ani papyrus version. There were several versions throughout the history of Kemet, but I have found this one to be the most complete and illustrative of all of them. And I wanted to give a tutorial on exactly what this scene talks about. The premise is that at death, each soul is weighed for their deeds, that what you've done in life shall be weighed and measured, and that a sentencing will be cast upon you based upon your virtue of character, what we call ma'at, your devotion to integrity, honesty, truth, and justice. And if you attain liberation through the analysis, you become what's called makeru. Makeru, the word ma'a means to see, or it means law or science, and keru means voice. So makeru means a scientific voice. Truth can only be known through science, through math, through equation. So to be called makeru means I passed the trial of character, and I have become a being who speaks and perceives scientifically. Now, if you live a life scientifically, you will always be following the truth, because science is eternal. 2 plus 2 is always 4. And ma'at is where the word mathematikos comes from, mathematics. So this image here shows the actual weighing of the heart scene that happens at death, happens every night when you fall asleep, and happens every winter solstice between December 21st and 24th, generally speaking. Now, we have here a scene. We're going to read it from this way, from left to right, this way. It's a rather intricate scene, so I'll take my time to walk you through it very, very methodically. We see there are basically 3 sections. We have this first section A here. Then we have this middle section with these 2 figures here, section B. And then we have section C over here, which is the finale. There is a preamble section that I didn't show of these 2 figures walking towards an altar with offerings of fruits and flowers and such, incense and meats. But I want to focus just on this particular scene. Okay, now, it may be a bit hard to read this particular image, so I'm going to click over to a zoomed in version of section A. Again, here we had section A from this woman here to this area here. I'm going to zoom into this area now. It's the same scene, only bigger. And let's dive in. So you see, first of all, you have to look at the tableau. This is a meditation piece or an astral projection piece in various levels. Here we have the upper register, where there are 12 beings sitting here. They're called Neteru. Many call Neterus gods, but they are not gods. They are sciences. And here we have an altar here. And in the lower register, we have 3 basic sections. These 2 figures, the scales scene, and the recording scene. Okay, it's important to look at the entire image because the layout of this tableau has many meanings. Every detail has meaning. Okay, the first thing to notice is that whatever is in the middle is central to the storyline. So in all of this, these scales occupy the middle of this section of the tableau, telling you the main theme of the story is a measure of the heart here against a feather here. Okay? And you'll see above them in this upper register, there are 12 figures. And if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we have this goddess who is the 6th position. She's the middle. What is the rule of reading Kemetic tableaus? Whatever's in the middle is the central idea. Okay? She's 6th. 2 here is 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 2 sitting here, 11, 12. So this goddess or this science is called Nut. You see a bowl on her head, which is the cosmic waters. And she is the science of astrology. Nut, the queen of heaven, the queen of the starry systems. So immediately, we're told by the geometry of centrality that this document, this section of the document, deals primarily with some kind of measuring. And measuring what? Measuring something about astrology. Okay? From that, we can begin to decode the rest of the tableau. So it gets quite fascinating. Let's start with these scales. Okay? Here we have scales which have a central part and then 2 arms and then 2 hanging sections here. So we see here a balance point with oppositions. And the actual shape, this chord here, this triangular chord here, is an actual hieroglyph in Egyptian. This kind of sharp-angled triangle is the word sopedu, or soperet, which means the star Sirius in the sky. So the very shape of that which holds the measuring tools is a glyph for Sirius. Okay, now Sirius, many people think that star Sirius belongs to Ast. But in the Dendera zodiac, it shows what we call Canis Major, the big dog, as a cow. And in the cow's horns is a star, drawn an actual 5-pointed star. So Canis Major, or the cow, is the whole constellation. Inside of it has the brightest star in the sky called Sirius, Sopedu, or Sopedet. It's actually Sopedu. Let's be clear about this. The word Sopedet, with a T, all words ending in T mean feminine in Egyptian. Sopedet means the constellation Canis Major, and it is feminine, shown as a cow goddess. But the star Sirius is called Soped, or Sopedu. It is a masculine word and was correspondent to Haru, Ast's son. In King Tut's tomb, there is a wooden gilded carving of a hawk, a mummified hawk, whose name is Sopedu, and he is shown as Raheru. This is the constellation of Sirius as the brightest sun or star in the sky. So we see here something about these scales, about a central line of energy, a balance point with 2 opposition points, from whence hang something about the star Sirius. Okay? Now, this central line actually represents the chakra system in your spine. It's your back. The spinal chakra is the 7 centers of power. These 2 arms represent 2 things. They represent the left and right channels of your chakras. What the Dravidian or yoga system calls Ida Pingala. Ida is the yin channel and Pingala is the yang or fiery channel. They also correspond to the 2 lobes of your brain, because the spine sits really between the 2 brain halves. Okay? And the fact that we have the glyph for Sirius as that which hangs from the brain, or left or right brain, or hangs from the left and right channel, implies a link between Sirius and the chakras, what we call the arit, or the 7 cobras along the fire of the back. So here we see atop the central column, it may be hard to see, there's a small baboon sitting here. His name is Awon, and in front of him is, going this way horizontally, a feather. This same feather here, but going horizontally. And he's sitting very delicately, actually, balancing very beautifully on this central point, this tip of the scales. Awon corresponds to the monkey mind, all the crazy thoughts in your head that never seem to stop. But here he's shown sitting, which means he's at peace. The mind is stilled, meaning he's meditating. The monkey is facing the direction of Ma'at's feather here. This is the feather of Ma'at, the feather of the love of scientific living. Ma'at means the love of scientific living. And he's facing the direction of knowledge, shown here as Tehuti. Okay? So what calms the mind is to meditate, meaning make the mind sit. That's a fancy way of saying meditate. And focus on science in yourself and around you in nature. Okay? And by developing the chakras, you reach the crown chakra, the mind becomes still yet alert, like a baboon sitting yet very alert. And he sits upon a passive understanding. Passive meaning I am open to it. A passive understanding of science. And how the goal of being scientific is to balance out all opposites in your life. Work and family, friends and personal time, yourself and your mate, all these opposites of what? Of astrology, because remember Nut was number 6. She's the center of these 12 sciences. Okay? Now, the feather of Ma'at means that this is the symbol for science. When you live scientifically, you can fly. We must be clear about science. To us, there are 2 hard sciences, 2 hardcore sciences. One's called the outer sciences, the physical sciences. The other is called the inner sciences, the psychological sciences. Now in the West, psychology is what's called a soft science. There are no hard and fast rules about a psychological model or a psychological schema that is universally accepted by all psychiatrists or psychologists, the way that all chemists do accept the periodic table. That's universally accepted. That all scientists accept math. To the Kamau, however, we have what's called the Ma'ati, the 2 Ma'ats. The outer Ma'at of the hard physical sciences and the inner Ma'at of the psychological, or what you can call the spiritual sciences. Okay? And that's what's being weighed here, is the condition of your psychology, the condition of your mind. The word Ma'a or Ma'at can mean to see or to have insight. Insight implies a mental understanding. So when your mind operates scientifically, your mind soars, it flies, it becomes transcendent. Ma'at is a feather. Feathers are for flying, for transcending the mundane. So when you have psychological Ma'at construct, your subconscious mind is in Ma'at. It operates scientifically according to the laws of kinetic psychology. Then your mind becomes transcendent, free, and can know all things through science. But to do so, you must still the monkey mind. What's being weighed over here is the word ab, which means heart. But ab also means mind. The word ab means mind. So you see, this is the weighing of your mind. This is a scene of how are you mentally? How are you psychologically? Because as humans, we are the only creatures on Earth with unlimited intelligence, unlimited consciousness. Spiders can only think of spider things, and birds only of bird things, and goats only of goat things. But a human can think of spiders, birds, goats, gluons, galaxies, DNA, and pyramids. Our minds know no limits. So we are a mental species. We are a psychological species. That's our function on Earth. We're the only beings that can do this. So what's interesting is your mind is called your heart. It's not in your head. See, the head mind is more baboon awon, who should be still. But the heart has its own intelligence. There's a website called Heart Math that has discovered scientifically the heart has its own nervous system. If the brain goes dead, the heart can still process data, has its own thinking process. It's got its own way of knowing. So what they're saying here is that giving your heart to living and loving science, that your mind loves from your heart scientific living. That's all it means. We can say Maat means truth and justice and reciprocity and all that kind of thing. Those are after effects. Those are natural correlates. Those are the shadow of the main principle of science, particularly the science of mind, the science of psychology, the science of consciousness. Okay, so we're seeing here that the chakra development is key to mental development, to scientific thinking. Now, this is a whole new concept if you are a scientist. What I'm saying here, this document is showing that the first step to becoming a true scientist, a true Ma'at, is to still your mind, not activate the mind in the way we think of as just a lot of research, which is required. But after all that study, you have to still the mind to allow the heart mind, to fall in love, emotionally in love. Heartfelt devotion to that science. When you have your brightest minds in your nation studying the secrets of the universe, aka science, it's important that those people have a heartfelt bond to what they're learning. Otherwise, they make napalm bombs and atomic bombs and nuclear bombs and pesticides and guns. To make a gun or nuclear bomb requires tremendous intelligence. But you have these mad scientists who studied nature and studied math, but their hearts were not connecting to what they were studying. It was just this kind of intellectual activity separate from their personal lives, separate from their heart. And thus you get these Frankenstein creations, these very destructive creations. To prevent that, this tableau was made central to the Kamau. That our greatest thinkers, our most enlightened people, our greatest scientists, had the most compassion. When they learned the formula for how to measure an equilateral triangle, or the pi formula, or the golden ratio, these are powerful things to know how to utilize. The Kamal said, these people, these women and men who learn this, must have heart. They must connect. They must feel what they're learning and not just have this sterile, stale intellectual understanding of it, or else they will create all kinds of horrors for our land, calling it technology. That's why the baboon had to sit, so that that kind of sneaky, cunning, clever, intellectual, linear mind is not going to dominate the scene here. That's not being judged. The heart mind is being judged. Did you feel science? For example, there's a science to how to eat. There's even a science of how to chew food. The rate at which you chew your food is like a little Morse code tapping to your nervous system, to your entire body, preparing it to release digestive juices and such to digest that food. If you chew too fast, the body stresses out, it freaks out, and it begins to secrete all kinds of things to digest at once, like a dumping. When you chew your food slowly, at a certain rate of chewing, the body's able to secrete an almost an orchestral sequencing, like a piece of music. Each required hormone and digestive juice to take care of the food one by one. It's astounding. There's a science to how to sleep, a science to how to walk, there's a science to how to wear shoes. There's a science to communication, a science to relationships, a science to exercising. All of these things are run by sciences that you must come to love from your heart. Okay? Now, in the chakra system, I'll be doing a workshop. I'll be doing for the members a new groundbreaking opportunity to give the most powerful chakra teachings really at a very, very affordable price. It'll only be $55 a month for those who want to sign up for it. You learn all of my chakra teachings, except the meaning of the words of power. I won't tell you what those words mean, what each heka means and does, but I will teach you how to open your chakras completely. I'm doing this in order to give everyone a chance to access enlightenment. The Golden Beetle motto is for all people, no matter what your gender, your sexuality, no matter your race, no matter your nationality, is peace, glamour, and love. I want you all to have peace in your life. Respond to all of life's ups and downs, challenges, with peace. I want you to have glamour in your life, the finest things of earth, the luxuries of existence. And if life is bringing you lemons in hard times, don't go dowdy and frumpy. Glamorize yourself and say, even though I fell off my horse, at least I fell wearing diamonds. Don't let life take your desire for glamour, because glamour is a way of saying, I'm still here, and I'm still going to live life as if it's rich, no matter what happens to me. And thirdly, we want all people to have love. So these are the three guiding principles of the Golden Beetle. Peace, glamour through it all, no matter what happens to you. Stay beautiful, and love. To help people have this, I'm opening up for the first time these chakra teachings, all but the meanings of the words of power. That's a separate workshop. And when you learn the chakra teachings, whether it's how we teach it, and even in the Dravidian yoga system, the chakras are divided into three sections, what's called three lingams, or linga. There's called the bottom linga, the middle linga, and the upper linga. Linga means it means phallus, literally, but it means like section in this context. If you look here, there's a gold area, a central black area, then another gold area along this spine of yours. There are three sections here for the three linga of the chakras. By awakening the chakras in your spine and activating your brain hemispheres and subtle left-right channels, your heart will fall in love with science. So you've heard of the 42 declarations of innocence of Maat. I have not lied, I have not stolen, I have not defiled the gods' waters, etc. Those 42 actually come out automatically if you follow this formula. This is a scientific formula for ethics, how to make anybody ethical. If we awaken the 7 chakras and their 3 linga, and we activate the 2 major cortex brain hemispheres and Kundalini channels during important motions of the star Sirius, the person's heart will fall in love with being scientific on the daily basis. We have here the god Anpu, who is the one stilling the plumb bob here of the scale, so it stops titubating, stops teetering. And he is the part of you, he's the science of learning. He's the science of logical learning, careful learning, detailed learning. That's why he's measuring the exact movements of the tiny micro movements of this plumb bob. Okay, so this is saying that he's kneeling, meaning he is humbled. He's kneeling inside of the scientific half of the scales. This is the heartfelt half. This is the scientific half. So your intelligence has humbled itself to staying within the boundaries of the love of science. It will not misuse science. It will not make scientific discoveries that are dangerous and abusive to humankind and nature. That's why the intelligence is kneeling, bowing beneath the love of science, the balanced use of scientific knowledge. The word plumb bob is tekken, or tek. Tek means to be drunk or to wobble, and the plumb bob has a science to it, as a ratio to its swing. And when you measure these plumb bobs in Kemetic iconography, it is a 1 to 27 ratio, that if the string length is a 1 to 27 ratio, the plumb bob will become very still rather quickly. Okay? Now we have on this side the heartfelt side of science. So here we have the heart. Here we have a goddess called Meshkanet, the birthing brick. It is a brick with a woman's head upon some kind of plinth or pedestal here. Beneath her is a god or a science called Shai, which means transits or astrology cycles. The word Shai means many things: luck, fortune, fate, decree, ordinance from heaven, command, garden, has all these meanings. So we see here on the heartfelt side two astrology principles. Meshkanet represents the birthing brick, the day you were born. Well, that's called your astrology chart. When you go to astrologer, what do they ask you? They ask you, tell me your birth date, place, and time, i.e. your Meshkanet. So this is saying that the heart and its astrology chart, now we're getting very interesting, that the science of reincarnation, the science of destiny, is being measured here. Beneath her is Shai, the god of transits, the various movements of your chart throughout your lifetime, and the events they trigger. So here we're seeing an astronomical or astrological treatise saying, did your mind contemplate your birthing brick moment, your astrology chart and its cycles, and bring science to the events they triggered? Did you respond to your transits and to your chart with a warm scientific approach? Here we have up here 12 sciences, because there are how many signs? 12 signs, 12 houses. So did you respond to each of these sciences or 12 signs in your chart with a heartfelt scientific approach? The first sign is the Ram of Aries. That's survival. Did you survive scientifically with a heartfelt ethic? Second house is money. Did you have luxury through heartfelt work and business? The seventh sign is relationships. Did you have a heartfelt relationship based upon the science of love, the science of communication, the science of relating. Once you see this tableau this way, it becomes much more approachable, much more interesting, and much more relevant to real life. When I hear people discuss this as the meaning of truth and justice, that is to me so vague and so unapproachable, and it's not at all useful in daily life, whereas this is. Okay? So, now, we come to this side even farther. We see a human-headed bird. This head is the same as this gentleman's head. This is Ani. This is his wife, Tutu. And this bird is called the Ba bird. The Ba means the observer, the divine spark in you, the part of you that deals with observing your life. It's not engaged, it just watches. Like going to a movie, and you see the movie, you watch the screen, you watch the events, but you're not all, you're not those events. You know you can walk away from those events. In a very similar way, with your own adventure, your own life activities, you'll see that you can observe them. You'll see that they are not you. They are not happening to you. They are that which you, the divine spark, are observing. So here we have a part of Ani, part of you all, that is the observer of what is he looking at? The balance. His eyes are level with the balance. The balance of what? Your chart. That your karmas in your chart reincarnate. Those patterns called your astrology chart come back over and over and over again. And as a part of you observing your adventure through these karmas of your astrology. Those of you who know astrology well know it's a very intricate science. The mathematics is stupendous. No small mind could make the science of astrology. There's no, it's the level of Einstein, the level of Imhotep, it's the level of building a rocket ship, like rocket science. It's very, very intricate. Math, geometry, astronomy, astrophysics. Unbelievable. Well, that science controls your reincarnation. And there's a part of you watching each and every one of your lifetimes, recording what you're doing, observing it. Okay? He sits atop this small little building here, which represents your body. This little temple here. This is what's called your kat, your physical body. Look at the ratio of the size. The divine spirit is far larger than the physical body. That when you tap into your ba, you can command your physical body, physical reality, more than you know. It's got immense powers. And it watches how you handle your chart and your transits in your mind, how you mentally handle them in particular. Your mindset, the word ab means mind, and how you use the powers of your spirit to control the 12 houses of your chart. This little glyph of the temple house here means het, which means house, or hut, hut, are the 12 houses. These are the 12 signs. Okay? Then we have here two sciences, two goddesses. The one in the red dress behind here, her name is Renenet. The one in the green is called Meshkanet. Her name was Meshkanet too. We have two Meshkanets and one Renenet. Renenet means your name. That your name is part of your destiny. That your name should reflect like a headline, a marquee of the headline of your mission, of your purpose on earth. Why do we have two Meshkanets? We have one here. She's contained within the laws of karma of the scales. She's confined. You see here? But this meshkanet on the outside is your previous birth. This, we go this way. We start from this way and we read into it this way from left to right. So here we have your previous birth and your physical present birth. Both are with you. So your last life is the one closest to the karmas of this life. And Renenet means that your name should reflect what you've accomplished in past lives and what you must now add to that in the present life. Here we see, again, Ani Tutu. This is Ani's papyrus. This is he here. And Ani represents the conscious mind, and his wife Tutu represents his wife literally, as well as his subconscious mind. She's very important to read because she holds in her hand what's called the sheshe, a sistrum, or a kind of shekere of sorts, that belongs to the goddess Heteru, the goddess of beauty, joy, love, and Mary, saying that his subconscious mind, his wife, was in a state of joy. Notice that she angles this fertility symbol right around her womb, meaning this is a signal that may you have a sweet rebirth. May you be reborn into a sweet womb, a sweet mother. Okay? Full of joy and bliss of life. They're both kneeling forward in a state of humility because they know that there are forces of the universe like science, karma, and astrology that we must bow to. You must not approach astrology cocky. You must never use it once you master it from a cocky point of view. You want to bow to it. Because if you do, both your conscious mind, Ani, and your subconscious mind, Tutu, will become sweet, will become beautiful. Okay? Over here we have the science Tehuti. Many call him the god of oracles. He's the god that records in this scene the verdict of how scientific were you about your chart, in understanding it, Meshkanet, and in living it daily, Shai, from an observer's calm point, the Ba. And he represents what's called your seed of life destiny reading. And he's looking at how well that reading and you got along with your chart. In other words, in the Golden Beetle astrology system, we don't use oracles as a standalone procedure. Oracles must be used to read something in a chart because the main theme of the storyline is balancing of astrology, Nut. Everything must go back to this center. The center foci are really like the strange attractor, whirlpools, the gravitational center, the magnetic center of the entire image. So, oracles are supposed to tell you, let's say you're running a Ptah square Khonsu, Saturn square your moon transit. You do the basic analysis. That's the baboon here. He analyzes the chart through typical astrological procedure. Saturn is this, the moon is that, a square is this, is it an opening square, closing square, etc., etc., etc. The kind of factual details, the common sense astrology techniques. When you've done all that, you sit that part of your mind down. Then you go into a Tehuti state, a deep meditation, a deep, deep reverie, where the mind blanks out. And then you throw readings. Okay, what is the reading that accompanies or governs this Saturn-Moon square? That reading tells you how to balance your mind in a divine way with that Shai transit. The reading tells you specifically how to handle transits. If you just try to handle the transit by studying it with the Sebek baboon, the baboon technique, Saturn squares Moon. Saturn means difficulty. Moon means mother. The mother may get sick, or there may be a loss of a home. Square means stress. Squares mean try something new. So I may have to get a new home under duress, or my mother might become ill because of age, or I might end an important emotional bond with someone. It could mean 1,001 things, that Saturn square Moon. Which one is the one for you at that moment? You have to ask the oracle. For this upcoming Saturn Moon square, Shai transit, what's my objective? Boom, you drop the oracle, the lots, and it reads that question. This is key because that tells you specifically the personalized lesson for your Saturn square Moon at that time. You may have another one coming in so many years from that point. It'll be a different lesson because you're different in your life from Saturn square Moon A to Saturn square Moon B. Okay? So, his role is to make sure that opposites stay in balance. Okay? And that's the function of an oracle. There's a part of you that records how you handle that transit. So some of you may not be aware of what a Saturn square Moon transit is, what a square is, what an astrology chart is, what an oracle is. This is important to know, that you're not aware perhaps of these words, because if you're not, you will fail this test because you have to pass the test according to this model. So I've seen people in the Kemet system, not have astrology charts done, don't know their destiny in detail on the daily, don't have oracles to read this major transit coming up. What is my lesson for it? How am I supposed to navigate this in a balanced fashion? So a lot of very well-meaning Kamau brothers and sisters in the community are not obeying this tableau. They're missing out on so much wisdom, so much luck, success, power over their physical world. This white temple here, this little house here. It's quite heartbreaking, really. This is the goddess Aumit, which means the eater of hearts. She's a she-beast, part crocodile, part lion, part cheetah, part hippo. She's a quadrated force because she looks at the 4 elements of your chart: earth, water, air, fire. You see? And she represents, if you did not do a reading on your transit, you almost assuredly failed the lesson in that transit, in that moment of your life, that life challenge, that life event. As a result of that failure, you're going to have the recriminations of guilt in your heart. Oh, I missed this. I didn't do it right. I hurt someone. For example, I always teach when people, as part of the Shai teaching of your daily transits, you must look at your biorhythms. Because there's something called critical line. When we call them these snakes, you have 3 snakes that wind through your biorhythm each month. A red snake of physical, a blue snake of emotional, and a green snake of intellectual. We call the red snake Geb snake, the blue one Ast, the green one Sebek. So it forms an S wave or a sine wave, and it crosses the 0 point. So it makes a sine wave going up, crosses the line, goes down, bottoms out, goes back up, crosses the line, and crests like a wave. Whenever the red, green, or blue line crosses the central 0 axis, it's called a critical day. That's not a joke. Those critical days are days in which you tend to do what I call bright ideas, and I'm being cynical. When the lines cross critical, you get a bright idea to tell your mate off, and then you're divorced. Or to do something lewd at work, and now you're fired. To tell your boss what time it is, and now you have no job. Or to go speeding down the road, and now you have a ticket. You get some bright idea, some cockamamie idea. It works almost every single time when you have a critical line. So if you don't know that, that's Shayi, that's part of your birth chart because biorhythms start from your birth moment. Then you have problems. Almit means problems, regrets, guilt, mishaps, accidents, all those unwanted things of life. Called in Yoruba, they call it ibi or buruku, just bad stuff happening to you. Okay? Now, Almit sits upon this papyrus mat. The word papyrus, wacha, one of the words for it. Papyrus represents what paper was written on. The word papyrus is the root of the word paper. So paper was used to write scriptures, data, records of history, scientific understanding, cosmologics. It was the way to preserve and to transmit knowledge over generations. You see, so this part of you, the guilty heart, the regretful heart, the accidents that bring you rue and regret, is trying to teach you some kind of knowledge. When you have a problem, a challenge, something that you didn't do very well, that you regret or that was not pleasant, you should unscroll that situation. Let's say you went through a bad divorce, or you lost your job at a certain time. You want to unscroll that moment, that challenging moment, and think about what is the lesson there. That's why she's on this word for that implies data, that your bad luck, your problems have a message for you, a lesson for you. Just unscroll it. Open up the situation, look at it carefully, and say, what was the lesson for me there? If you're not certain, you want to ask the oracle, what was the lesson at that moment? This will erase the guilt. It will keep it from eating your heart, eating your mind. You see, eater of hearts means she stays on your mind. The problem, the regret stays in your head. Oh, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Oh, would that I have done so and so. She's called eater of hearts or eater of your mind. So the mind never rests when it does a lot of bad things and regretful things. We move up here to the 12 gods of the zodiac. These are the 12 signs. Here we have an altar, meaning you must do rituals to your chart. Not just simply sit there and read a chart. You must do ceremonies of offerings, as is done in India with what's called the puja system or the yagya system or the yajna system, where they do star rituals with pujas, these kind of fire altars. The first principle is Ra, your chart. He's the first one. He's your chart itself. Ra means your chart. Here we have Temu, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Nut. She's the number one most important part. We have here Ast, Nebethet, Heru, Het Heru. Here we have, let's see, this says the back one is Sia and the front one is Hu, your census. Okay? This is the judge and jury over your birth chart. The 12 signs, the 12 star constellations deal with what you're here to master psychologically, mentally, emotionally, numerically, intellectually. Now, you'll notice one last dynamic here I'm going to show you. You have to look at a Kemetic text from many angles at once. It's called simultaneity. Many angles at the same moment. So if we take the center of the entire tableau, we bifurcate it here along the scales, so right here, where we have the actual center of the plate itself. If you start, then you form an X. So you go from this axis, you form a line to here. Then you go from this axis, you form an X here. You'll find some very interesting things. For example, this is Husia, the gods of the senses, the sense of touch and the sense of taste in particular. Well, opposite the senses is the goddess of emotionalism, Maat. Her name is Eater of Hearts. Well, the word eat is tongue or taste, and we have a god opposite her, the god of taste. Okay? Then we go in each way. So we go into the next one. We get, here we get Het Heru. Well, we see we have Hu and Sia. Oh, okay. Here we have Hu and Sia, and they're kind of composite, like kind of shown as one, two is one, and here we have a composite goddess. Next we have Het Heru to Tehuti. You should enjoy your readings. We go this way. We have Ra to Tutu. Ra is the subconscious mind, and so is Tutu, humanized, the subconscious mind humanized and beautified. Then we go from Temu to Ani. Temu means what's possible. Temu means you can upgrade your life's programs. You can upgrade your chart's karmas. How? If you become conscious and humble about them. Okay? And we keep crisscrossing this way, we get a whole other layer of information from this tableau. There's also a vertical drop kind of correlate. Okay? So here we have the altar and Ra. Under Ra we have Tehuti. Under the altar of food we have the Eater of Hearts. Eater, someone who eats food. Okay? That the nature spirits eat the life force of offerings. That Ra, the chart, needs a diviner to tell him how to focus on the chart. Here we have Temu, which means nothingness. Look, there's nothing beneath him. There's no deity. So almost like emptiness. There's an emptiness right here beneath him. Next we have Shu, who has a feather on his head. Look, beneath him is another feather. This tells you that being scientific and truthful is a function of how well you breathe. Shu is the god of breath and air. Then we have Tefnut here, who falls right in the middle of the scale. Well, Tefnut means yin, or the inner life. What's being judged is your inner life, your inner psychology. Is it balanced? Next we have Geb, the god of the earth, and look, he's above a brick made of earth. So talking about your life on earth is ruled by your astrology chart and its transits. Here we have Nut, above the most important part of the scene for a human is his heart. Your life force, the heart itself, beats according to the motion of the stars. That your mind must be looking up at the sky. Keep your mind on your chart. Keep your mind on the heavenly motions of your life. And Nut also is over the Ba, because your Ba is observing all of the stars that walked with you in each lifetime. Notice this. We have two goddesses here, As and Head, and look, beneath, drop down vertically, two goddesses here. It's mirroring and giving you information from opposites and from columns. So we see here that clearly this first goddess in green, that is, let us see, read this here. That would be Ast. Ast is on the outside and Nebet on the inside, yes. This tells you that Ast links to your birth chart. Well, Ast is the great mother who birthed Heru, and in a similar green dress is the goddess of birthing bricks. Nebet is the goddess of imagery, your imagination, and your name is an imaginative headline of your destiny. Here we have Heru above the male Ani, that the man must make his mind submit to being heroic, doing the right thing. The back of him, here we see sits Het Heru, that what supports him, what backs him, is joy, is pleasure, is healthy sense of pleasure. And the subconscious or wife of Tutu, of Ani, Tutu here, has the two gods of the senses. And are not women those who bewitch the senses? Perfumes and beauty and hair and makeup, and they have a science of bewitching the senses. That when the feminine force is at its height, it is a master of the senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. How they speak, how they walk, how they look, bewitches and takes the senses to a new level of enlightenment. So this is full of all kinds of information. I've only touched the surface. I haven't even talked about the glyphs, the words here, and how they are telling a story. But I want to give you a quick initiation into this once and for all. I've heard so many Kamal people discuss this tableau, and it pains me to see how much they're missing in what's really being offered here. And all this information was given to me by the gay ancestors of Kemet. I went to them and said, decode this for me. And all those ancient African gay spirits told me how to read this. I'm going to jump to another part of the scene. Recall here our major scene had the center, part B and part C. I will touch these very briefly, not in the same level of detail. So here we have, well, let's look at this image here. Part B shows Heru. Heru means the master of his astrology chart. He's conquered the negative features of his astrology chart. The word Her means above. Her, that which is up or above. What's up? The sun and the stars. So Heru, the word Ru means a lion, and Her means above. So that's another word for Sphinx, the lion above called Leo, and Heru does own the sign Leo, which means when you're a good Leo, you've mastered your chart. Okay, so here we have Heru, the master of that Ani has mastered his astrology chart, all of its issues and dramas. Notice here his clothing is more or less white, but it becomes more sunshiny, golden here. That he's becoming more immortal. Gold does not rot, gold does not decay, gold does not tarnish. It stays eternally gilded. So he's now entering into a state of eternal light, eternal enlightenment. Eternal light, what are lights but stars? Okay? And over here, again, gilded, he holds what's called the Shakum staff, and I believe we have that more closely here. Yes, same scene. His hair has become white. Note his hair was not white here, nor here, but it did become white here. Okay? When the hair is whitened, it means it has become Osirinized, meaning your head chakra has opened. He has this wax, fragrant wax upon his head, implying again the head chakra open. His head is white. Osar's crown is white. He kneels before Osar, which is your good DNA. And this is interesting. I'll only touch on it. This Osar represents what you may know in the West or even in Asia as your Bazi chart, your what they call your Chinese astrology chart. It's a different system. The Osar system deals with your meridians, whereas this system deals with your sidereal chart. This system deals with your meridians and your ancestors much, much more. He's the lord of the ancestors. Here we have the 4 canopic jars on a lotus. These canopic jars are the organs, which are powerful in the Chinese system, which is actually an African system. And here we have As Nebuchadnezzar, which is Sirius, the constellation that contains Sirius, or the Canis Major, and Sirius B. Nebuchadnezzar is Sirius B. And we have all this happening inside of a shrine, really a coffin. You can see the kind of top of the coffin here. And it has here Sokar or Seker as a hawk in the middle. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snakes on each side, 12 for the 12 zodiac signs. This coffer represents The DNA, what's in there should be good DNA of Osar, should be meditation, that you must meditate and visualize your DNA being supported by what's right. Your organs, your four canopic organs are healthy in your chakras of this lotus. This hanging skin here with kind of stars and circles and spangles on it represents that you shed the old body, your old skin, and what's being judged here by Osar, your good DNA, your high ancestors and their high DNA, is your chakras, which is the same thing as a scale, your organs. These two columns represent, with snakes on them here, represent your two left and right chakra channels. Here we have these snakes inside this coffin, which represent calendars, days of the year. And here we have the zodiac I mentioned before. You can even see here that we have this sun, Sokar here, in the center of this, meaning the equinox point. And there are 12 signs altogether here. And I'm trying to go through this very quickly. And Ani has the staff of power here, meaning he knows the words of power of his chart to control it, which made him wise with the white hair, enlightened with the gold. And he's humbled himself beneath these offerings. We have 4 offerings here for the 4 elements, earth, water, air, fire. And we have here offerings that I won't go into right now, but deal with the chakras. Okay. And these tiny stairs that go up this altar here, who can walk up those tiny stairs? His foot, look how big his foot is, it couldn't reach these stairs, meaning it's not a physical evolution going on because he shed the physical body here with this skin here. It's more a spiritual ascension, a spiritual evolution. And if you look at this offering table, you can get a sense of a face here, nose, eyes. Here's the brain. Here's the mouth. Okay? That this talks about that he's done certain alchemical ceremonies or alchemical exercises within his body as offerings to become wise, enlightened to the crown chakra, and to make good organs and good DNA from his ancestors, and to support his ancestors, because As means your family, Nebehet means your kin. And so you support the good in your DNA by becoming initiated, by becoming enlightened. So I've covered a lot. I want to begin to wind this down, replay this over and over and over. There's a lot in here, and I want you to get this because it's an important thing to know. What the meaning of this scene is, it's one of the most classically famous scenes, all of Kemetic iconography, and I wanted all people to have a chance to become enlightened through it, to purify themselves, to make their minds fall in love with science, this hardcore psychological sciences. There is a science to relationships. There is a science to eating. There's a science to resting. There is a science to food. There's a science to success. There are sciences to all these things we call neteru. And may you too, like Ani, kneel upon this mat of new knowledge, new information, new data of a scientist of life. And may you find in the end that your heart falls in love with that which is scientifically righteous and good and honors your beloved ancestors and the DNA deep within you. Dwawend Hotepu.